Try and do one last one. I don't want to have to upload another one, but I'll do it. Last week, 11-year-old girl at the Corpus Christi Trade Center, which is a flea market that I like to go to. Now, why am I going to mention this? Incompetence. Okay, she called and made a false report that she was kidnapped, which indeed is a bad thing to do. Now, she left the trade center, from what the newspapers have reported, with her friends. And she did a bad thing, said she was kidnapped. And the PD put in for the Amber Alert, but they found the girl even before the Amber Alert went up, and there was a little controversy about it. But, well, the PD has now filed charges with the district attorney against this girl. And it's been coming out in the paper. What I'm assuming they are doing, I seriously don't think they're going to pursue the criminal charges against this 11-year-old girl. I'm guessing that they're just going to teach her a lesson, and it's been in the paper, and maybe just to show the public that false charges are, something you shouldn't do. I'd be shocked if they actually. Why? Well, you had a case a few years ago, which I spoke about, which is a serious thing. It was a mechanic who was accused of kidnapping, binding, and raping a girl. And during the trial, now he was convicted of this, and he's been sent up to prison. His name was... But during the trial, it was shown that the woman lied about being bound because she was examined at the hospital, and there was no marks of any kind on her wrists or anything. And so in court, it was shown, this is a serious thing. And this girl, I guess, was 27 or 25. And this case actually went all the way. Now, if you're talking about, so we know that this girl in the Rubio case actually lied in a serious felony case where there was an actual conviction. But yet you're seeking charges, the DA, as well as the police, against an 11-year-old girl. So it shows me that the mentality of somebody making a serious false allegation that that person said she was bound, and evidence in the court this few years ago came out. So it showed me that they don't have the wisdom to see that an 11-year-old girl compared to a serious accusation, but they hardly ever bring charges against false accusations of rape, kidnapping, and all of that. The second case I wanted to just bring up when we're talking is the tragic murder of Brianna Wood. Now, Brianna Wood was a wonderful young girl. I think I might have put her picture up here. This is a wall of people I pray for. Even Chief Simpson's former family, because his wife has had some trouble. But when people die also, I'll put their faces up. Because in spirit, believers are with God. So, but in that case, of course, the gang kid that they're, going to try for that, so I'm sure it's going to be a capital murder case, he looks the part. I forget the gang kid's name, but big guy, Hispanic, tattoos, arrogant in the pictures of the courts and locally. Tragic case. I couldn't figure out why, because Mark Gonzalez wants to try another case himself. And I thought if you were going to really, go gung-ho, you'd do something that's like serious. But then I realized there's some problems with this case. And I didn't want to bring it up because it's such a tragic case. But the problem is the evidence, they did not know, they didn't have a suspect as far as we know in the Brianna Wood murder. But when the kid that they're now charging with her murder, when he was in jail, there was a cellmate that actually confessed or told the authorities that the man told him to dispose of the body, and he knows where the body would be. Now, of course, the authorities and cops or jailer who he told, they went and looked for Brianna Wood's body, and it was indeed found. And she was mutilated and murdered, but they found the body. And then another cellmate said that the same man that they're accusing confessed to it or something. But as far as I could tell, that's the only evidence they have. They don't have any other evidence, as far as we know from the media, tying him to the body. What's the problematic thing with this, unless they have something else? See, in prisons and in jails, there are gangs, both in jail and out of jail. And if somebody in that environment might indeed have had knowledge of that crime because of people they know, and it would not be hard to set somebody up. Meaning if somebody did have knowledge where the body was, but as a form of gang things that go on. Now, I'm not defending the person that they're going to try, but it made me question a little bit, like maybe they don't really have enough, because I'm sure that's what the defense... Now, the other interesting thing about that case was there's a judge, Jack Ploutcher, and the defense made a motion that they wanted 5 particular things from the DA. Now look, the former DA, Skirka, was problematic. I thought this new DA would be a good DA, Mark Gonzalez. But the defense made the request and said, we'd like to have 5 particular things, and Judge Jack Ploutcher granted all of the requested defense, but one of the things that they wanted was any plea agreements that the prosecution and the DA had made with these other, quote, jailhouse informants. And so it seemed that there might be some problems with that. And I just wanted to mention it. Nobody wants a murderer to go free, but it just seemed like, because of what I was explaining, that people could have knowledge of a crime, and they could say a certain person told me, and if it wasn't true, but they knew where the body actually was because of connections people have. So it seemed like a problem. I'll end with this. When I was with Austin last night, I haven't seen him today. Sometimes he comes by at night. I got a little behind on my studying. But he was quoting a lot of verses. The same thing Big Charlie, after I mentioned that earlier, Charlie. It's very interesting. And then we were talking about angels and supernatural things, and sometimes Austin asks me, John, do you travel in the spirit? He reads various things that I don't recommend, but I understand the stuff that he studies. I even pulled out my book of Enoch I have because he was reading that. I said, look, I've studied the other books, and I said, no, I don't travel in that way, Austin. I said, but in the Spirit of God, and the scriptures I've taught this last year, I said, we are in the Spirit, and God does take us in the Spirit, but it's not in the way that the occult world practices it. So then we were talking about angels. The verse I'm going to have at the top has to do with avenging angels, or the decree of the watchers. But we were talking about some things, and I gave him a lot of scriptures, and we were reading a lot. And I remember I woke up a little later today, like maybe 6:30 or something like that, because I was up late with Austin. But I was dreaming, and I remember when I woke up, right before I woke up, it was a dream about like an avenging angel, a scripture about that, something about that. And we were discussing it, but right before I woke up, it was a vivid dream about, and the discussion Austin also I had with him was, he said, John, I notice sometimes when Austin first gets out of jail, he did like 10 months in jail, sometimes he's very mellow, which is fine, because he had a violent history. And sometimes he'll even say, like he'll defend maybe injustices that take place with cops and all, because kids with this type of background, they teach them also, to try to respect authority, and all that's good. But sometimes I sense that he's too, like certain cases I mentioned to him and he was not aware of, and he was defending certain things. I said, no, Austin, this came out in the paper, some of the injustices that took place. And I realized, and then last night he's saying, sometimes, John, I feel like I'm more in a fury, meaning God's going to maybe, I'm supposed to be mad. I said, Austin, I go through those stages. There's a scripture I quoted to him. My my fury upheld me. But I think it's Isaiah. It's talking about God. But the zeal of thine house hath eaten me up. I don't want to add too many verses tonight. And I said, but when I'm in that mode, I know that it's not me. I mean, I know, I'm going to be teaching in a stronger way. I said, but that drains me. And so for a few weeks, I just was focusing on the regular calm scriptures. So I did not instigate any initiations today. I've been with my friends, whether you see the videos of Furman and me or whatever. I said, I'm just out there, not approaching. So I'll end it with that one because those were a few things I wanted to mention. But we were discussing, me and also discussing, this is by the decree of the watchers. It's quoting various things. I said, in the spirit, we too are messengers. It says his angels are ministering spirits. Angels also messenger, ministering spirits. And a lot of verses about the prophets, the two witnesses in Revelation 11. Fire proceeds out of their mouth. I said, in the spirit, it's through speaking truth. You see, it's through speaking truth. But right when I woke up, that some scripture, some image of like an avenging angel or the decree of the watchers had come to me. And I didn't know today I'd be in this mode. That sometimes happens, okay? So that'll be the last one for today. And we'll see what we got for tomorrow.